Have you ever noticed how the truly wealthy, the ones who built something from nothing, eventually disappear? No flashy cars, no luxury trips posted online, no loud opinions about success. They just vanish. It's strange, isn't it? We live in an age where everyone wants to be seen, yet the people who've actually won the game quietly leave the arena. Picture this: a man who once owned 3 companies, constantly surrounded by people, attention, noise. Then one day he sells everything and moves to the countryside. No one hears from him again. His old friends assume he's lost his spark, but maybe he's finally free. The truth is, our society glorifies visibility. We're told that power is influence, and influence means being watched. But what if the ultimate power is to walk away unseen? What if the people we call successful are trapped in the same hunger that once drove them? The hunger for validation, applause, relevance. Most people chase the illusion of success, not its essence. They want the feeling of control, not the reality of responsibility. But those who've actually built power, the real millionaires, understand what Niccolo Machiavelli hinted at 5 centuries ago. Visibility makes you vulnerable. When everyone sees you, they can target you. When everyone praises you, they can also destroy you. So the true masters of the modern age don't play the visibility game. They've seen behind the curtain. They know that freedom doesn't come from more. It comes from enough. Enough money, enough recognition, enough noise. Then silence becomes the luxury. Ask yourself, why do you want success? Is it because you crave peace, or because you crave attention? If it's the second, you'll never find the first. In this video, we'll explore why true power moves in silence, why visibility has become the new prison, and how Machiavelli's ancient wisdom might hold the key to surviving the modern age of noise. If you've ever felt disillusioned by the fake shine of success, stay until the end. And if this already speaks to something deep inside you, leave a comment below and share one thing you're ready to disappear from. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. This journey is just beginning. What if everything you've been taught about success is designed to keep you visible, but not free? Imagine a world where everyone's chasing attention like oxygen. The louder you are, the more you seem to exist. But in that race for recognition, most people forget the quiet art of power, invisibility. Let's play with a thought experiment. What if you stopped posting, stopped explaining, stopped proving? What if you became a mystery again, to others and even to yourself? At first it would feel uncomfortable, almost like disappearing. But slowly, something would shift. You'd notice how much energy you used to spend maintaining an image. You'd start to feel the rare taste of genuine independence, the kind that doesn't depend on applause. Now imagine you're one of those real millionaires who's already been through it all. You've played the game, learned its rules, and realized that winning publicly often means losing privately. You've seen people trade authenticity for approval, peace for popularity, and then you make the silent decision. Enough. You start withdrawing, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Here's the paradox. The modern world offers unlimited visibility but almost no intimacy. We can show everything and reveal nothing. We can be everywhere and belong nowhere. So, when someone steps out of that system, it looks like retreat. But maybe it's the only act of rebellion left. Machiavelli would have understood this. In The Prince, he warned that power isn't just about gaining attention, it's about controlling perception. To rule yourself, you must first stop letting others define what your worth looks like. That's why the quiet rich aren't escaping the world. They're reclaiming it on their own terms. So what would your life look like if you stopped performing and started observing? If you stopped being seen and started seeing? Maybe silence isn't the absence of power. Maybe it's its purest form. Hold on to that thought. In the next part, we'll break the illusion, the one that convinces most people that to matter they must be seen. But before that, ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly invisible and completely free? We've been trained to believe that being seen is the same as being significant. Every post, every like, every comment, they whisper the same lie. If they see you, you exist. But that illusion is precisely what keeps most people enslaved. Because once you depend on attention to feel real, you've already lost control of your identity. The silent millionaires, the ones who've truly made it, understand this trap. They disappear not because they're hiding, but because they no longer need to perform. The performance was only ever a bridge, a necessary illusion to build something real. Once the foundation is solid, the show becomes meaningless. Look around. The digital world rewards noise. The loudest voices rise to the top, even when they say nothing of substance. But Machiavelli would have called this what it truly is, a theater of vanity. The crowd applauds not wisdom, but spectacle. And those who chase that applause inevitably become prisoners of their own reflection. True wealth, whether material, emotional, or spiritual, grows in silence. It's not the kind of wealth that needs witnesses. In fact, it dies when exposed to too much light. That's why real power doesn't announce itself. It simply acts. It influences quietly, without hashtags or followers, moving the world in ways the spotlight can't reach. Ask yourself, how much of your life exists only because someone else is watching? How many of your choices are shaped by invisible expectations of success, relevance, belonging? We fear disappearing because we mistake visibility for meaning. But what if the opposite were true? What if meaning only begins when no one is watching? Machiavelli hinted that influence is safest when it's unseen. To govern yourself, your impulses, your ego, your image, you must first withdraw from the crowd's gaze. The rich who vanish aren't escaping society. They're escaping the performance of self. And that's the rupture, the quiet rebellion. The realization that obscurity isn't loss, but liberation. In the next part, we'll explore how ancient thinkers like Machiavelli and modern psychology both reveal the same truth, that visibility is the enemy of mastery, and silence is the birthplace of freedom. When people hear the name Machiavelli, they imagine manipulation, cold strategy, maybe even deceit. But that's a surface-level reading. In truth, Machiavelli's greatest insight wasn't about controlling others. It was about understanding how control itself operates in human nature. He studied visibility, reputation, and perception not as vanity, but as survival. In The Prince, he wrote that a ruler must learn to appear virtuous, even when acting strategically behind the scenes. Most readers stopped there, labeling him as cynical. But Machiavelli wasn't glorifying deception. He was exposing the fragility of appearances. He understood that those who depend on visibility to maintain power are already weak. The truly powerful move beyond the need to be seen. That's why the quiet millionaires follow his wisdom without even realizing it. They've discovered that the moment everyone knows your next move, you've lost your advantage. To preserve autonomy, you must master the art of selective absence, to let mystery speak where noise once did. Machiavelli would have called this prudence, the ability to act without announcing. In our time, that principle is even more radical. The economy of attention is ruthless. The spotlight consumes people faster than ever. You can build a digital empire in months and lose your soul just as quickly. Visibility feels like control, but it's dependence dressed as success. Every post, every opinion, every photo becomes another string that ties you to the crowd's approval. So when someone steps back, when a true millionaire vanishes into silence, society doesn't understand. But that's exactly the point. Machiavelli warned, "To be feared is safer than to be loved." In modern terms, it might sound like this: to be unknown is safer than to be famous. Because anonymity, when chosen, is the final form of power. Think about it. The most influential people you'll never hear of are the ones shaping the systems you depend on. They own silence like others own fame. So ask yourself, are you chasing visibility, or are you building influence? One fades with the crowd's memory, the other endures in quiet strength. In the next part, we'll uncover the invisible patterns, the subtle psychological traps that keep ordinary people visible but powerless. There's a strange irony in the modern pursuit of freedom. The more we chase it through visibility, the more we become prisoners of it. The systems we think make us powerful, social media, constant networking, public recognition, are often the very things draining our autonomy. They promise independence, but deliver addiction. They sell exposure as empowerment, but in truth, it's surveillance disguised as validation. Psychologically, this runs deep. Every human being has two core needs: to belong and to be free. But in the modern world, these two are at war. To belong, you must conform. To be free, you must stand apart. And most people can't bear that tension. So they settle for belonging, for being seen, accepted, liked, even if it means giving up sovereignty. That's why the wealthy who vanish are so misunderstood. They've already lived through the cycle, from invisibility to exposure, from independence to performance, and eventually discovered that peace doesn't live in visibility. It lives in control over your own time, your own mind, your own attention. There's another trap here, one most people never see. The more visible you are, the more predictable you become. The algorithm learns you. The audience expects you. The brand defines you. And slowly, your behavior adjusts to please them. That's not influence, and that's invisible slavery. Machiavelli would call it the corruption of power, when the prince forgets he's serving the crowd's desire instead of shaping it. Real millionaires don't disappear because they hate the world. They disappear because they finally understand its mechanisms. They stop playing the game that keeps others running in circles. While everyone else is shouting for attention, they're listening, quietly, strategically. And that silence gives them leverage. Ask yourself, where in your life are you trading autonomy for approval? How much of your energy goes into maintaining a version of yourself that others recognize, but you no longer feel connected to? The first step out of the trap isn't quitting society, it's reclaiming your attention, the most valuable currency of all. In the next part, we'll distill this entire philosophy into simple, striking truths. The kind of ideas that stay echoing in your mind long after the screen goes dark. Here's a truth that cuts deep. Visibility feeds the ego, but silence feeds the soul. The world worships the loud, yet it is the quiet who endure. Every empire of noise eventually collapses under the weight of its own performance. But the unseen builders, the ones who move without spectacle, they are the ones still standing when the lights go out. Think about it. Power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. Real strength isn't measured by how many people notice you, but by how little their opinions can move you. That's the difference between fame and freedom. Fame demands constant proof. Freedom needs none. To be seen by everyone is to belong to everyone. To belong to no one is to finally belong to yourself. This is what the silent millionaires understand. Their silence isn't withdrawal, it's discipline. Every moment not spent proving is a moment spent being. Every word not said becomes a boundary. Every absence becomes presence. The crowd wants spectacle. The wise seek sovereignty. Machiavelli hinted at this centuries ago. Those who depend on the people's favor must live in fear of losing it. But those who master themselves have no such fear. When you no longer need applause, you become untouchable. Noise is dependency. Silence is power. Ask yourself, how much of your identity exists because someone else confirmed it? How much of your drive is fueled by being seen rather than being fulfilled? It's a confronting question, but one that separates seekers from followers. The rich who vanish aren't rejecting the world, they're transcending it. They understand that control isn't about dominating others, but about being unmoved by their opinions. The one who governs his inner world rules the outer one without effort. Remember this: true power is quiet because it no longer needs witnesses. Let that line sit with you for a moment. Say it again in your mind. Feel the weight of it. In the next part, we'll dive into the paradox of presence, how disappearing can actually make you more influential than ever, and why the world remembers those who no longer fight to be remembered. Here's the strange truth. The moment you stop fighting to be seen, you begin to matter in a deeper way. Disappearance, in its truest form, doesn't erase you, it refines you. It strips away everything that was performative and leaves only what is essential. That's why the world often forgets those who shout the loudest but quietly respects those who simply are. Machiavelli understood the paradox of presence and absence. In The Prince, he warned rulers to measure every appearance carefully. not to vanish entirely, but to reveal only what serves the purpose of influence. A true strategist knows when to show up and when to disappear. The crowd believes power lives in constant exposure. The wise know it lives in controlled absence. Psychology mirrors this. Human attention is built on scarcity. We value what we rarely see. The more accessible something is, the less we appreciate it. That's why silence commands respect. It creates a field of mystery that demands curiosity. The millionaire who vanishes becomes a story. The one who keeps shouting becomes background noise. This paradox reveals something profound about human nature. We don't actually seek visibility. We seek significance. And significance doesn't come from how many see you, but from how deeply something about you resonates in silence. The world may not always notice, but it feels authenticity. The absence of noise becomes a signature of truth. Disappearance is not rejection, it's alignment. It's the act of removing yourself from systems that dilute your essence. It's saying, I will not trade my depth for your attention. That is not arrogance, it's integrity. So ask yourself, where in your life are you overexposed? Where have you confused relevance with importance? Maybe it's time to step back, not as a retreat, but as a declaration, a statement that says, my worth exists beyond the audience. And here lies the paradox. The moment you stop performing, the world starts paying real attention. In the next part, we'll explore the reward that awaits those who dare to disappear. The deep, quiet fulfillment that replaces the empty high of being seen. When the noise fades, something remarkable begins to happen. At first, silence feels like loss, like stepping away from the pulse of life itself. But soon, the absence of applause reveals a deeper rhythm, your own. You begin to hear yourself again. The mind, no longer competing for attention, starts to produce clarity instead of anxiety. That's the silent reward the true millionaires discover when they vanish. Not just peace, but presence. For the first time in years, they wake without pressure to perform. Their worth isn't a number on a screen or the echo of an audience. It's internal, grounded, and quiet. Psychologists call this intrinsic stability, the moment when your sense of self stops depending on external validation. It's the difference between being admired and being whole, and it's something the modern world almost never teaches. Because our entire system, from media to marketing, is built to keep you seeking outside approval. When you stop chasing it, the system loses its hold. Machiavelli would have seen this as the ultimate power play. He warned that a ruler should never depend on what he cannot control, and the crowd's love is the most unpredictable currency of all. The silent rich follow that principle intuitively. They withdraw not from wealth, but from dependence on others to confirm their wealth. The reward is sovereignty, the kind that no market crash, scandal, or rumor can touch. It's the ability to walk through the world unbothered because your value no longer fluctuates with opinion. Imagine that. Living a life so internally anchored that no praise can inflate you and no criticism can shake you. That's real luxury. And perhaps this is the message hiding beneath every quiet success story, that freedom isn't earned through accumulation, but through release. Every possession, every follower, every title, they only matter until they own you. Ask yourself honestly, what would you still love doing if no one ever saw it? What parts of you are waiting for silence to come alive again? Because when you stop needing to be seen, you don't disappear, you return. In the next part, we'll uncover the deeper philosophical foundation of this truth, how history, psychology, and ancient wisdom converge on one idea, that the greatest form of power is self-mastery. Every philosophy that has survived time, from Stoicism to Taoism, from Machiavelli to modern psychology, converges on one principle: mastery begins within. The outer world bends to those who have conquered their inner world first. The vanishing of the true millionaires isn't a mystery of wealth. It's a demonstration of this timeless law. They don't withdraw from society. They graduate from dependence on it. Machiavelli wrote about rulers and politics, but beneath his pragmatism lies a psychological blueprint. A prince who cannot govern his impulses, he warned, will eventually be governed by them. In our age, The impulse is visibility, the hunger to be seen, heard, validated. The crowd has replaced the court, but the dynamic is the same. Those ruled by opinion lose themselves to it. Those who master it disappear by choice. Modern psychology reinforces this through the concept of self-determination theory. Autonomy, competence, and relatedness are the three pillars of inner fulfillment. Yet most people chase only the third, relatedness, and call it success. They want to be admired, connected, noticed. But neglecting autonomy leads to burnout, anxiety, and quiet despair. The silent few who reclaim autonomy find something stronger than happiness. They find peace. This architecture of self-mastery has three layers. The first is awareness, seeing the forces that pull your attention outward. The second is discipline, the daily act of choosing what truly matters over what merely shines. The third is detachment, the art of letting go without resentment. Together, these form the invisible fortress the quiet rich live within. And maybe that's the real inheritance Machiavelli left us, not a manual for manipulation, but a mirror for maturity. He teaches that influence is safest in the hands of those who no longer crave it. The more you can stand alone, the more the world quietly begins to align around you. Ask yourself, which of these three pillars feels weakest in your life? Are you aware but undisciplined? Disciplined but still attached? Or detached but unaware? Identify it. That's where your work begins. Because self-mastery isn't about control over others. It's about no longer needing to prove control at all. In the final part, we'll close this journey where it began, with silence, and reveal why vanishing isn't the end of success, but its ultimate form. Silence isn't the end of success. It's its final evolution. The journey begins with ambition, climbs through struggle, passes through recognition, and for the rare few, ends in disappearance. Not because they've lost interest, but because they've outgrown the noise that once defined them. The silent millionaires aren't escaping the world. They're mastering it from the shadows. Machiavelli would have admired them. He believed the highest form of power was prudence, the ability to act decisively without revealing intent. In a time when everyone is performing their life, the one who chooses silence becomes unpredictable, untouchable, free. His absence speaks louder than any display of wealth ever could. But there's something deeply human underneath this idea. The craving to be seen is not wrong. It's a phase of development. Every person begins by seeking validation. Yet growth means realizing that being seen is not the same as being known. True recognition begins in solitude, when you can face yourself without the mirror of others. That's what the quiet rich discover. When you no longer need an audience, life finally belongs to you again. The world feels slower. Attention sharpens. Joy becomes quieter, but truer. The pursuit of visibility gives way to the art of presence. And paradoxically, those who vanish often end up leaving the deepest mark, precisely because they stopped trying to. The ultimate power, then, is not dominance, but detachment. To build, to win, to serve, and then to walk away without needing the world to notice. To exist beyond applause, to know in silence that you've already won. So ask yourself, what part of your life is asking to go silent? What would happen if you stopped proving and started being? The answer might terrify you at first, but that fear is the doorway to freedom. If this message resonated with you, if something in you recognizes the truth of quiet power, share it in the comments below. What's one area of your life you're ready to reclaim through silence? And remember to like, subscribe, and stay with us. Because sometimes the loudest truths are the ones whispered in silence.